All right, CJ, my man, what's up? Let's just welcome in one of our awesome coaches, CJ Castle. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, you're running
Yeah,
around a lot over there.
I know we're trying to run around a lot. We finally have some decent weather up in mountains of Colorado. So
Yeah,
spring's here. It's time to get outside and ride bikes off of a trainer for a little while, which will be nice.
for sure, dude. Yeah, man. So why don't we get back in? I mean, we talked a little bit down at our coaches camp and everything. We had some nice conversations, and I really enjoyed them. Let's talk a little bit about your background and how you got into the sport. And I know you've also done a lot of mountain biking and things like that. But why don't you give me just a quick synopsis of when triathlon started and how it got to where it is right here?
All right. I kind of ran all through college, did the typical high school sports. When I got to college, did a fair amount of running. And when I graduated, thought I'd give my knees a little bit of a break, just trying to look towards the future, and bought a road bike.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that summer, I was like, oh, triathlon, I should try this. It won't be hard, right?
Yeah.
Grew up surfing and found out quickly that surfing doesn't exactly translate to triathlon swimming the same way. So that first race was a bit of an eye opener. But I was kind of all in at that point. And over the years, ended up reaching a point where I raced professionally for the better part of a decade and have coached on and off since then. Lots of private clients. I've coached university team for quite a few years. Actually went back to school and got my master's in exercise physiology to kind of bring it all together. So that's the brief triathlon story for me. There's been lots of breaks in between for me. I'm kind of an endurance sports junkie. There's been plenty of years when I haven't raced triathlons and sort of gravitate towards mountain biking, the longer stuff, stage racing or things like the Leadville races. But I always seem to find my way back to the triathlon start line one way or another.
Now, first, I want to go back over a quick story from you. I met you last year at Madison Camp in Wisconsin. And, I just go into these camps. I don't know a lot of people sometimes. And I remember it was so funny because I remember kind of going, we're riding along and I'm kind of saying, you doing all right, man? This is a big hit, whatever. I can't remember. I was just trying to explain shit to you. And then I found out, and then we ended up going back to Ironman and you raced. And I showed up the morning after the race because I didn't really see you that day, and you're on the podium and I was just kind of laughing about it because I remember trying to be like your coach and make sure everything was okay that day, but you went out and just absolutely crushed it. Found out you're a pro and shit. I just felt like an idiot.
I'm a long ways removed from that. I had a pretty good day last year, so some stars aligned for me.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it was a great day and it was awesome to see. And I like to kind of be humbled like that sometimes. So, you've been coaching with C26, but obviously you've been coaching on your own for a while too. So, like, what kind of thing? I mean, we talked about it a lot at coaching camp, but you seem really kind of in tune with your athletes, and you probably have a wide range of athletes, right? So, I don't know if you have a favorite type of person to work with, or what you think you seem to gravitate towards or not. But why don't you talk about that a little bit, like as far as athletes and your coaching style and that sort of thing?
I think, going back to my history in the sport, I certainly achieved what I did through hard work. So I love working with athletes that are willing, and wanting to do the work to achieve something great for them. And I don't ever really see that as, a time goal or anything like that. That means something different for everybody. For some people, it's, I want to do my first sprint. For some people, it's, I want to try an Ironman, or maybe I want to go this fast. And so being able to help them and, use my years of experience and education to try to help guide them and fit into their life is kind of what I love watching people succeed.
Right.
I mean, one of my favorite stories is when I was coaching the UC Santa Barbara team, I had one kid that was terrified to even get in the pool. Like he wouldn't even get in past his waist. He had a true fear of swimming. And within, 6-7 months, he did his first race, and see his smile and just see him beaming, so happy that he was able to accomplish something like that.
Yeah. How do you get somebody from that point that can't even get in a pool? I mean, you must be some kind of magician or something.
I think it's just patience and finding what works for them, right? I mean, certainly you have to build the trust relationship between coach and athlete. But there's 100 different ways to get from point A to point B. And we just, you guys talk about communication and consistency all the time. And I think that's really the key. If you can talk openly with your athletes and figure out the best way for them to make their progress and then put that to work.
Right. So you obviously discovered all this through the podcast, I'm assuming.
Discovered C26.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. My wife did her first Ironman, I guess it'd be 2 years ago, and she had been listening to the podcast for a little bit of time. And she would come home, and the typical husband-wife story where they don't necessarily hear each other well, but she would come home and be like, "I'm listening to these podcasts, and these guys say all the same things you say."
Oh, wow.
So I started listening. And then from there, it was, started making some friends, came to the Wisconsin camp, and it all sort of grew from there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought you were going to say she came home and said, these guys are saying all the different stuff that you say. I've heard that one before too, actually. It is funny, people get into the podcast. So now you've been working with Robbie then for a while, or were you at all one point or what? Or is it just kind of like you're associated by things?
Just sort of associated. I mean, I don't have a coach myself. I kind of take care of all my own stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's not gonna, I had two questions there and they both don't fit. So I'm going to keep moving. As a self-coach, I mean, I kind of do the same thing, but I work off of, a lot of our plans and variations of our plans and stuff like that. But you obviously build your own plans for yourself?
Yeah. And for every athlete, what I'll kind of do is I typically build sort of like the skeleton plan of some phases we want to target throughout their build for whatever they're getting ready for.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll adjust those week by week as needed. We look at all the things that we should be looking at, like, what's their daily stress life? How's their load from training? Are they recovering? Are they having fun? I mean, I think that's probably one of the things that I've done personally is put a lot of focus into the fun part.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this sport for 25 years. And I think the reason I've been able to do that and not burn out is finding different ways. I'll ride my mountain bike a lot just to get off the road and do something different. It's good for me to be out in the forest and on the mountains and make some workouts easier. And next thing you know, there's a bunch of fitness to be gained and you stay a little bit more mentally fresh. So you find the things that people like to do and ways to plug that into their training, and you kind of help them build a lifestyle.
Right. Yeah. I think we talked about that a lot, actually, when out in Kansas City. That was kind of one of our themes because, I've been coaching for a while now, and, I've probably left 18,000 million Training Peaks comments. And right. I would say half of them have been centered on that because, I was actually thinking about it today again, because I've really been enjoying riding the bike. And, we have all these regimented thoughts in this sport. And it really, when, I guess the longer I'm around it, it's sort of like you can step back and see the forest in the trees, because to me, it's like if somebody's enjoying stuff, they're just going to get better, man.
Absolutely.
So, and I love that you focus on that. And I assume that you're talking to people all the time, trying to find different things that they might like to or like to try and break it up or whatever that looks like from your perspective.
Well, yeah. And everybody's different. Some people are like, I love the trainer. I want to ride the trainer every day. I like the structure. Great. Let's do it. And other people are just say, I want to get outside. I want to try something new, and just find different ways to do that for people, help them set micro goals along the way. But we all know that Ironman, half Ironmans, those are all strength events. We can build that strength 100 different ways. And if we can get people to enjoy what they're doing and it helps them be more consistent, then I think they end up feeling successful in what they're going after.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, man. The strength part of things, I did have a talk with an athlete just yesterday, I think it was, about, because they're doing their first 70.3. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there watching their training going, you're ready, and it's coming up in about a month or something like that. And I said, you've obviously, she's a strong swimmer. And then I've seen her bike, the distance multiple times. She just did a really nice half marathon last week. And I'm looking at it going, okay, you're ready. But they can't, she was having a hard time seeing the idea of putting them all together. Right.
I
And
think we always struggle with that, right? I mean, yeah, even 25 years in this sport, and I still look at myself sometimes and be like, ooh, Ironman sounds like a real long day. I don't know if I'm ready.
yeah, we got to respect it. Right. So
Exactly.
yeah, and but I was just saying to her, I'm like, okay, your strength is there, in my opinion, just from watching you. I think you have the strength to do it. So now, we've got the last month. It's your first time, but start really thinking about your effort and your pacing and controlling that, and because that's really how, to me, you're going to get off that bike and be able to have a decent run. But I think you're strong enough, and I think mentally you're tough enough. So I see no problem there, but it's bridging that gap with athletes. And I know you probably have a lot of talks like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, every athlete has their own journey, right? But I think everybody at some point or another looks at that whole distance as overwhelming or intimidating. So we definitely have those talks, and definitely, and one nice thing about Training Peaks is you can help guide them and look back and say, hey, look at all this work you've done.
Yeah.
All this consistency builds on itself, and you're more ready than you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be overwhelming for sure. That's why I'm just like, you really just got to take it like life, or, say you're going to drive here from Denver. If you start thinking, hell, that's a, 20-hour drive, that'll kind of overwhelm you, but you just got to just be in the moment the whole time. And I think that's the key to racing too, is because you're gonna have highs and lows, and you can't just be thinking you want to be done right when you start. You just got to be where you're at and go through it. But, so anything, have you recently had, any kind of revelations about coaching or anything like that, or something you've been thinking a lot more? I mean, we just talked about strength and that, but any other things that you think about a lot while you're coaching besides fun and strength, and some of the challenges that you like to address with people?
I think everybody's got their own challenges. I mean, we have our own challenges at home. We've got 4 kids, so finding the time and finding ways to get creative to fit training in is always something that I'm looking to get better at. I think we do a pretty good job, but we can always get better. And it's everything from like, all right, well, kids are going to do a mountain bike ride, I guess I'll do my long run with them, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Just to make it work and help balance life. I mean, triathlon's supposed to enrich us, right? So whatever we can do to take stress out of it and make it enjoyable.
Right. So yeah, you seem like a pretty versatile guy. Are you still surfing? Or was that
when I can, but I live pretty far from the ocean these days.
Yeah. Do you do that crazy kayaking down the rivers out there?
No, I'm not much of a river person.
No?
Never really gotten into it. No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, I'm not into it either, but that's one of those things that looks incredible to me.
Yeah, it looks fun. It's
some of those people, what do they call that? They just sort of find an opening and they just go down a stream and then plop into a river and just see what happens. What's that called? Extreming? I don't know. It's probably extreme.
Something extreme. I don't know. Some of the stuff those guys do blow my mind. I'm like, how do you know you're coming out of that alive?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think they do. So you've been coaching for how long now?
Let's see. How old am I? Off and on for 20 plus years.
Okay.
So I went and
coming to our camps.
Yeah, I was at swim camp. I'm coming to Nashville, and I'm coming to Wisconsin this year. Okay. I was at Wisconsin last year as an athlete. So
yeah, I know that. What are you racing? What do you got coming up for yourself?
I just did St. George and then Louisville and Kona this year.
Oh, okay.
And if we'll see about anything else, but that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. There'll be some fun stuff around town, some mountain bike racing probably.
Yeah. So how you feeling about Kona? Feel like it's is it something that I mean,
I've been there, so I think I have a very healthy respect and maybe fear of that place.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the energy of it. I love the history of it. I love everything about it. I certainly am not ready yet. I hope that I have plenty of time.
Yeah. I mean, you train so hard to qualify, and then it's like, all right, you got to re-up and train your ass off again, and
Right.
so let me ask you this, man. As a former pro, how do you, I guess, because I mean, I always think there's a lot you can learn from pros, but I also see a lot of age groupers try to act like pro or train like pros. I think acting like pros might be a better philosophy. Than actually trying to train like, you know what I'm saying? Do you have to do you have athletes that really want to be a pro or train like a pro? I mean, because okay, let me ask you this. That's not really a clear question, but how about like when you were training at your peak as a pro, how many hours a week were you going after?
25 to 30 on average.
Yeah. And
But I think that's the part that, the age group, a lot of us, and it still happens to me now, get ambitious and look at it and like, ooh, I can do that. I can put that work in, but we fail to recognize all the other stresses. Maybe stress isn't the right word, but all the other responsibilities we have in life that take time and recovery and everything else, that you really can't do that. I mean, it was great when I was racing pro. It's all I had to do. So I could go swim masters and go for a run and eat breakfast, take a nap, go for a bike ride. Like I didn't have any other responsibilities.
mm-hmm.
So
So
recovery happened a lot easier. I was also 25 years younger.
right, yeah, that's true. I mean, I just by the nature of what I do and stuff, I have some of that flexibility because of my lifestyle and all that kind of thing. But man, I mean, that's like are there any pros that don't train that much? If I mean that are successful?
I think that there have been, I think the pros that aren't putting, the Ironman people that are putting in 25, 30-hour weeks that are racing professionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more or less kind of a standard across the board. The men and women that are having success doing less of that, I think everything is just really targeted, and probably have a little bit more time in the sport where they've built the volume.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, the easy zone one ride, maybe everything is a little bit more tempo focused. So they can cut a few hours here, cut a few hours there. Or somebody like Lucy probably doesn't need to swim 10 hours a week to maintain her speed, right?
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of that. But for the most part, it seems like the successful Ironman athletes, all of those men and women are putting in quite a bit of volume time-wise.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that also because of maybe how it can relate to an age grouper, and because I'm notorious undertrainer, so I'm always looking for that thing. I've seen those plans out there where 10 weeks or 10 hours a week to Ironman, but it is all hard. And I think
Yeah, and are you happy? Like, are those athletes happy when they finish and excited about being in the community and doing it again? I don't know.
I
Maybe
don't know.
they are,
It's a
maybe
great
they aren't.
question. Yeah. I don't know, dude. I've never been a big fan of super long rides. So I'm even in a quest right now where I'm just riding all the time, but not long all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm almost wondering if this is a kind of approach that may be maybe worth something, but I don't know. I just, it's such a puzzle. And I do think that there's ways, especially, I think you made a great point though, with the volume history, and it's also, knowledge and experience in the situation too, right? Because I know that I can go out there and do it at a decent pace, no matter, probably if I train, a lot less than I have. I don't know. It's
Well,
some
that's
feeling.
the coaching puzzle too, right? Because every
Exactly.
athlete's different. Every athlete's different. And the one person who might do really well on very focused trainer rides, your next athlete might be like, hey, look, I just want to ride my bike long.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, how do we make that work for where you're trying to get?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
It definitely all works. There's ways to do it. It's just figuring out how to put the puzzle together for that particular person. And that changes from time to time with people. I live in an area where we've got snow on the ground in serious winter 5 to 6 months out of the year. So I don't train those months the way that I would in the summertime or the way that I have historically. I have to do things differently and be creative.
Yeah. Well, that's God's plan, man. Hibernation.
Right.
You know,
I've done that. I've done that a few times too. That usually makes for a tougher spring when I come out and get back on the bike.
yeah, no shit. I watched you on the podium at Wisconsin. I just hung my shit up there for a couple months. Oh man. So anyway, well, I guess there is a question here that's been submitted. It was like, what's your favorite? What do you eat after a long ride? What's your favorite treat post ride long? You have treats like that? I mean,
I definitely will have some treats here and there. It's usually a burger and probably a beer.
Oh, that's
Colorado.
that's
I mean, it's
rarity. Are you?
Huh?
That's a rarity. I saw you were showing me your plants. Do you eat off the land over there?
No, I wish. We can't grow any. Our growing season is so short.
Well, you need to get.
I mean,
what are the greenhouses like the weed growers?
yeah, we've got one. We built one last year. We just haven't. We also are remodeling our house, so.
Oh, okay.
We have a bunch of half-finished projects right now that we're trying to tidy up and move on from.
Okay. Any other thoughts you want to get out there about your style, or what it'd be like to work with you as far as a coach?
I think anybody like we keep talking about. I think if people are willing to be consistent, I think that there's a way for everybody to achieve what they want. If you can have an open conversation and realize that, hey, maybe that might not occur on the timeline that you're hoping for, but it's out there and people can do it. And I think any of our coaches are probably primed to be able to help with that kind of thing and guide people through their journey. This sport's been pretty good to me. It's been a big part of my life. So being able to coach and help as many other people enjoy this as much as I have is fun for me. It's kind of a way for me to give back to the sport. It feels good.
Okay. So I was going to ask, because it's always a big thing, is what is your why? But it sounds like you may have just answered it as far as coaching.
Yeah, my why. I mean, triathlon, endurance, athletics is kind of in my blood. I studied it at school. It's been a big part of my life for the better part of 30 years. And, my other job is as a paramedic, and I love getting caught up in my own head, looking at the idea of like, wow, do we have so much disease and so many problems because people don't move anymore and people don't challenge themselves with, things like a triathlon or a marathon or an ultra or long bike rides, things like that. And so it's a way I can give back to the sport. I think it's a way people can be healthier and, live a happier, healthier life, hopefully for longer.
Oh shit! You just opened a can of worms there, but we got to close.
I know.
That's where we really got heavy when we were talking in Kansas City. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I just think that as I get older, and I see a lot of my old friends, come back into my life, and I'm going, "What in the hell you been doing?"
Yeah.
I just think there's so much to be said for movement. Movement is medicine. I think it is the ultimate medicine. Well, that's cool, man. I like that you have that approach and philosophy. It does. It's a struggle at times for sure to get back out there every day or, and stay consistent, but going all the way back around, it's just, where do you find the fun with it? And
yeah,
I think it just pays off. I say if you can keep finding fun in what you're doing every day, because there's nothing worse than going into Training Peaks and seeing the headline comment that says, man, this really sucked.
Right. Yeah.
It's like the thing is sometimes they don't even know why.
Well, and then as coaches, we struggle with like, oh man, why did it suck? What happened? What do we do different? And
right. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, because it can be, I don't know. It's so perplexing at times, but when you're dealing with the life piece, that you're not on top of all the time, but the communication is key, and it sounds like you're a great communicator. So, and I know you got things to do, but it's been a great chat, man. I hope to do more of these as we go, but for now, that'll do it, man. I appreciate you making the time, and
I appreciate your time too. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, we'll have to get offline and talk a little bit more, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see you soon in Nashville.
That's right. I will be there, hopefully ready to ride with you, man.
Yeah, I've never ridden the Trace. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna be looking forward to having you pull me along out there. Better be
I'll try
ready.
my best.
Coming.
All right, Mike.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon, man.
Good talking to you.
All right, you too. See ya.